A few months ago, I decided to take a 1 year career break from my consulting job, and it's now been about 3 and a bit months of that. So, I want to talk a bit more about the reality of taking a career break when you're in your 20s. I'm 28, and some would say this is a very young age to take a career break at. If we think about sabbaticals and kind of the context that we usually hear it in, a lot of the time it's people maybe in their 40s or 50s who just want a little break when they are quite far into their career and they're senior enough to be able to afford it in terms of stepping back and still being able to come back to the same job where they're respected and needed. And they're needed enough that they have the security of, well, while I'm gone on the sabbatical, they're not going to just get rid of my role. So being this young and taking a career break can come with a lot of things. So I want to talk to you a bit more about how it's been. And if you've not watched my video where I talk about what my goals are for the career break and what I'm doing with it, I'm going to link in below and you can watch it after this one. For very quick recap context, I was in a Big Four consulting firm and I was there for 3.5 years before I decided to take this 1 year career break, and I'm using it to do a dance degree. Dance has been my passion for as long as I can remember, but I've never really had it on the table as a choice of my profession because I was always kind of following a very conventional path. I studied economics at uni and then eventually I went into a consulting job. So it's quite traditional, safe, lucrative path, I suppose. If you get into senior enough positions there, it can become quite lucrative. I think at junior roles, it depends on what country you're in. I've not really had the option to be a dancer, so I've not even considered it because I didn't think of it as an option at the time. And I think now, as the years went on, I realized slowly that I would really love to get the very rigorous training and get the quality of movement that someone who has professionally trained would have. And being 28, you're kind of considered a senior by dance standards, in the sense that lots of people who want to become professional dancers, they have been training with that aim since they were very, very young, like since they were in primary school, and then you go into usually studying ballet and contemporary. And by the time you're 18, you have been training for years and you're actually really laser focused on the dancer career. And I am 28 and I have been performing as a dancer for about 4 years, but I have been taught in dance through evening and weekend workshops, courses, drop-ins. So years of doing that. So I'm taking a year to pursue my passion, and I am doing it with the understanding that I don't think that this passion is something that I want to be my primary source of income. That comes with a lot of complicated thoughts around, well, how can you justify actually doing this, taking a whole year out and spend that on pursuing something that is for fulfillment? And it could potentially lead to a career pivot that could be very fulfilling too, but it's not guaranteed. And the primary aim is to just not have a regret, not have a huge regret later on that you didn't pursue or dedicate time to something that was so important to you in your youth. Although I don't qualify as youth in a lot of things anymore. I think 25 tends to be the cutoff point for rail cards and all of that stuff, and I'm now past that, unfortunately. I still got the 26 to 30 rail card. If you're in the UK, then let me know if you're in the same tier. So I'm taking a career break, and I think I've not really, I don't really know anyone who's done the same with the same aim of pursuing something that they've been loving for a very long time and they just want to upskill, but not transition into that being their full-time career. And the reason why I don't want it to be my full-time career is kind of got a few layers to it. I think one is that having performed professionally and done paid gigs and knowing a lot of people who are doing dance full-time, I do kind of think that it would be very tough to start building my network in that and start sourcing those opportunities when I am 28. It is much harder to do it later on. So if you've been, in the industry since you were 18, by the time you're 25, you've got a very good network. You've maybe got an agent. You've maybe got people who just go to you for particular gigs, for particular work. It's much harder to start that when you're approaching 30. And quite honestly, your body is not going to be in top condition for a very long time. So if you're realistic about it, and last time I spoke about realism a lot, and actually maybe would serve me to get rid a bit of realism and get a bit more optimism in. But I know that it's a very tough thing on the body. I've done one term of my degree now, and it's very tiring. And I think you are, of course, adjusting. So I feel so much more strong now. Like physically, I feel so much more able to do the things and handle the demand of an intense lifestyle like this. But whether I would want to rely on my body being in top condition for me to be able to earn is, I think, another question. And the answer is probably not. I think I would love for it to be a part-time thing in my life because I find it deeply fulfilling. And it's kind of exactly for that reason that I want to protect that. I wanted to stay as something that, yes, I would love to earn from as well, but I don't want to rely on it for sustaining myself and covering my costs, because I think that would take a huge degree of passion out of it. Although having said that, I have spoken with some people who do a dance related job as their primary job, and I do think the level of happiness is considerably higher there than what I've seen in corporate. So I think even if you do it for a job, and even if that adds a layer of pressure, it could still be something incredibly more fulfilling. But I think for me, I've always been multi-passionate, kind of. Dance has been the biggest obsession of my life, but also I've always wanted to do lots of things. I've always wanted to have deep and meaningful chats like this one, because I'm introverted. I enjoy deep chats. I've always wanted to work with people and meet people, facilitating. I enjoy leading sessions, which I've discovered while I was in consulting. I've realized that I actually really like public speaking when I bring myself into the right mindset, that I'm not nervous and I know what I'm talking about and I feel passionate about a topic or competent about a topic or both. Then I really enjoy talking and being in a leadership position, weirdly, which I never would have thought before. I have a lot of drive to do multiple things. That comes with logistical complications of what the hell do I do for my career if I want to juggle things. And I think my answer to that is dance would be amazing as a supplementary thing that I do on the side. Not even on the side. I want to dedicate ideally like a couple of days per week to it. And then something else as well, so that I have a variety of things that I'm doing. I feel like if I only have one, I will be so immersed in it that I'll lose that big picture and the transferable skills that actually come from having different industry experience, which I find very valuable. So yes, this career break, unlike for a lot of other people, is not the one that would give me a pivot into the industry that I'm training for right now. And at the same time, I think I have taken this career break with the understanding that it's an opportunity to step back from the immense pressure that consulting brings on you, whatever country you're in. I think consulting is a stressful job. I think it's even worse in the US. So if you're in the US, I'm sorry, because I've heard about your work-life balance and it doesn't sound good. It sounds like there's no life in the balance. In the UK, it varies. I think it's not as bad, but it can also be pretty bad, depending on the project you're on and the team you're in. But I've had good and bad. So I've had some good experiences and some tricky experiences with that. And I've gone through burnout as well, which kind of adds to the picture of questioning career choices and the long-term sustainability of them. The way that I've approached this break has been kind of twofold. Because dance is something that I want to get better at for the sake of it, I also have a lot of pressure on this year to be a time to step away from the stressful job of consulting and have time to rethink what I'm doing, with my career and also try and make something work alongside dance. That's why I've been really, really persistent with content, despite falling off the consistency schedule like a few times with YouTube. I have never really given up on it, and I think I'm not gonna until it works. Let's see if that happens. There is an element of me that hopes that this year brings me another stream of income. And I don't know what it's going to be. It could be this, it could be something else, it could be my own business idea. And I've tried to explore a few different things. Like, for example, I've made a guide for dancers with a 9-to-5 who want to level up their dancing alongside a full-time job. And I've also been kind of having ideas of what else I could do, and maybe not necessarily for dancers as an audience, maybe for people in their 20s and 30s, something community related, something to bring that human connection and just genuine conversation back. I think that would be lovely. So I am really kind of hustling, and my year has not felt like, I'm just going on holiday for a year. And some people genuinely do that, and I think it's a great way to spend it. If anything, at some point I would love to earn enough of a buffer where I can just do that. I can just take a break for the sake of relaxing, traveling, enjoying the world, enjoying life. I think at the moment I'm enjoying life, but the very productive side of it, where I've got so many items that are on my list of to-dos mentally. And the reality of that is that if you're a person like me and you're very ambitious and you've got a lot of plans for your life, you want to constantly get better, you want to constantly improve your career in terms of work-life balance, in terms of fulfillment, in terms of ownership and control, and maybe you also want to eventually be self-employed like me. That is my aim eventually. I think I would love to be my own boss because I think I'd be quite good at it. That comes with a lot of pressure to use the time very wisely, because ever since I started, I think before I started, I had this feeling of, oh my God, like I'll feel so relieved when I start my career break because I'll have so much more time. I didn't realize how much it would take it out of me to do a full-time dance degree because I didn't yet know my timetable and also how my body would react. My body reacted, honestly, I have to thank it, like fairly well. And I think I've been adapting well, knock on wood. But yeah, unsurprisingly, it turns out that it's an incredibly tiring thing to do. And actually, you don't have as much energy left in the evening as I hoped I would, because my hope was that I'll, first of all, have much less stress, and I do have much less stress than I did in the job, but also that the time outside of university I would use to very proactively hustle and make lots of content, make, all of the ideas that I have, like put them into practice and test them. And I need to give myself credit that I have been doing a lot, but I've not been doing as much as I hoped because I just don't have as much left during work days. And then naturally all the social plans that I used to be able to squeeze into some weekdays, and you can work from home if you got back late. Now there's no work from home, and I need to kind of squeeze all my social plans into the weekend and also not get back too late, because if I get back too late then I don't get enough sleep, and that is literally dangerous physically to do. So yeah, I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself to make this year the year where, because I'm having a year of stepping away, I can actually make something work alongside. And it's proving more difficult than I thought. Actually, that's not true. I think it's just proving difficult, and I knew it would be, but I think I always have these very high expectations of myself in terms of input, and then I get a bit frustrated when I can't meet that, because I thought I'd be doing way more strategizing, way more, content planning, and doing all of these different things that can make your content better. And, we have the mic now, which is great, but there's lots more that I wanted to do, not just in terms of gear, but in terms of, strategy and tactics. And I've just not had the time to do it. I think I've kind of had the time to just about scramble to post regularly still, not the other stuff. The reality that I'm taking this career break so early in my career comes with a lot of risk where, if none of this works, right? If none of this comes to fruition, all my attempts to get something self-employed going, or, then I kind of have just lost out on a year of my career. And if I return to the same job, then I am a year behind my peers, my cohort that I started with. And of course, lots of people have switched jobs since, and our generation is quite used to doing that every couple of years. But it can be a bit tough to be behind and to feel like you have maybe wasted a year of effort, a year of progression that you could have had, especially because this would have been the year that I'd be going for promotion and trying for that. And now, not only does it take a year out of my career, but also if I were to return to the same job, then it kind of takes out almost 2, because it would take another year to get back into the networking, into the being on people's radar, into getting the feedback, and being able to actually go back to the point where I can say go for a promotion. So I'm kind of sacrificing a year and then another year on top of that of recovering what I've lost. And it's quite a sizable chunk if you think about the kind of being maybe in the transition between being junior to being mid-range seniority in a career. It's a very steep learning curve. And at the same time, it's also the stage where at some point you're starting to itch to have a bit more in terms of, ownership and control and also the compensation for sure. But it takes a lot of effort to actually get to that stage, because the further you go, the fewer places there are for those grades. And at the moment, the market is not doing very well. If you've noticed, if you've been in the job market, it's very tough getting a job at the moment. What that means is that a lot of people are clinging on to their positions and there's not as much turnover as there usually would be. And because of that, it's much harder to get promotions because people just are really reluctant to leave their jobs. And also companies know that the market is crap right now, so they can actually give you less and you will still stay until the market changes in the favor of employees, which would be nice. So it's not the best time. Some would say it's the worst time to take a career break, actually, because we're in a recession and the job market is tough. And if there is a time for redundancies, it's kind of been the past 2 years and now, which we've seen a lot, I think, especially in the tech sector. I know there's been a lot of redundancies, but also in consulting, the industry as a whole is not doing too well. And there's also a question of AI and how that's going to impact the more junior grades, which is, it's not a secret. It's everywhere in the news, that whole discussion of will the junior consultants just be replaced or consultants full stop? I guess we'll see. So the timing of it is risky, but then I kind of thought that yes, it's risky, but will it ever be a good time? No. Because if you know that anytime we have something happen in life, we're like, well, this is the worst possible time for it to happen, but is it ever a good time? Last year I randomly got pneumonia in summer. I don't know how or from where. I don't know if it was viral or bacterial. I have no idea, but it sent me to hospital. So my oxygen was so low that I was sent to hospital. And then after that, this was not even the worst part. The worst part was that I got a complication, which was a humongous muscle spasm, which debilitated me to the point where I couldn't sleep from the pain, and I couldn't sleep for weeks on end. So you can imagine the state of me. The worst health situation of my entire life, by far. Being in constant pain for more than a month will do a lot of things to you. Your nervous system will just be, I don't know, on overdrive and insane. I was crying all the time from how painful it was, and there were multiple trips to A&E just because I couldn't sleep, and I was at the point where I was breaking down. That was not a good time. That was not good timing. It was summer. I, was kind of feeling very good. I was feeling healthy. I had so many summer plans. I was about to go on a trip with my family, which I still went on somehow. And it was, in terms of health, absolute hell. I was thinking that, I'm missing on performances because summer is the busiest season, maybe like summer and some festivities as well throughout the year. If you're also in the South Asian dance space, then it's kind of summer for the weddings, and then it's Diwali, and then it's Holi, and those are the busiest times for potentially getting gigs. So that was not ideal timing either. And in so many ways, it was not a great timing. But would it have ever been? Absolutely not. Could it have been worse? Yes, probably. There were lots of things that were very lucky. But in a similar way, I was kind of thinking, this is obviously a very negative example, but in a positive example, if we think about difficult decisions and difficult pivots, difficult things that we want to do, but we postpone and postpone and postpone. And I realized that, being 28 is not 18. And I don't have eternity to postpone it. And we don't know if the market will improve. But then it's never going to be a good time to take a risk, because it's a risk and it's going to stay a risk. And it wouldn't be, people would just be doing left, right and center if it was not risky and it was just a safe thing to do. And, if you could just leave your job and then be paid during your sabbatical fully and then just be guaranteed 100% that you can come back to the same job, everyone would be doing it because it wouldn't be risky. But it's a risky decision, and I could be postponing it forever and then never do it. And I think that would be a humongous regret if I were to go down that path. As time goes on, it takes more kind of nudging myself to make decisions like that, because I become more resistant and I become much more in favor of a safer path. But something in me keeps telling me in the back of my head that you will really regret it if you don't. And I have similar things to this. Like, for example, at some point, I really want to live in Portugal for a little bit, because I'm in love with Portugal. I have been there a couple of times on solo trips, and I had the absolute best time. The nature, the people, the welcomingness, the hospitality, and just the architecture, the food, the music, everything clicks with me so much. And at some point I'd love to move to Portugal, but that would come with a lot of complications logistically, of course. I would need to sort out what to do with accommodation. I would need to understand what the hell to do with all my stuff, because I've accumulated so much work. There has to be the right thing, the right setup with work, because if I am not self-employed and I don't have that much time freedom, I can't quite imagine moving, because, well, I can imagine moving, but it's not going to be what I envision, which is having time to actually move around and explore and enjoy while also doing some work, but ideally being self-employed with enough time freedom to afford to explore. I think back to the time when I was 17 and I moved to the UK from Moscow. I moved to London, and I handled it so well that it still kind of shocks me thinking back to that, because it's a humongous life transition. And for some reason, maybe I had a bit of a period where I was a bit down, because I think I felt a bit lonely, but it was not at the start. And I kind of was, just went along with it, and then adapted with the language as well, because you can learn with a textbook, but then you get into real life English and you realize that no one talks like that, and you have to learn all the phrases. Now if I think about moving countries, the thought terrifies me. It's so much logistics, so much admin, so much complication, setting up healthcare options and packing and moving and finding accommodation. I somehow did it right when I was 17, and I think as time goes on, the more in my brain stops me. When I started having the thought of a dance university and really upskilling in dance, it was a lot of internal battling more than anything, to convince myself that if you don't do it now, you probably won't. The longer you go, the more responsibilities you have, the more ties you down, and the more you're settled in a particular place. And I was just very keen to not lose that bit of myself that constantly nudges me to fulfill the things that I want to do, and not settle for giving up on dreams, giving up on wants, desires, and the things that I want to try and take off at some point, Portugal being one of them. And I really hope that saying it out loud helps a little bit with the whole manifesting thing. We'll find out. I can feel how tough it is at the moment to make big things like that. And I was very proud of myself for eventually deciding to do it, because lots was against it in my own mind as well. Like, just so many cons to doing it. Financial cons, there is job security cons, there is career reputation, because you don't know how it's going to be perceived, and whether everyone will think that, oh, well, she's not taking it that seriously as so she's not going to be up for promotion, really. Nevertheless, this felt like something that is very true to me. And I think that's what's been guiding me for quite a while, is trying to really listen to myself and make sure that I don't end up with regrets later on in life, and I actually stay very true to my values and what I want to do, and really, really authentic in the best sense of the word. That takes a lot of introspection and kind of listening to your gut, because I was reading this book and it was talking about creativity. So it was a dance-related book. It was talking about how as children we actually express ourselves so fully, and the thing that we feel is coming out instantly. Like, if you're very happy and you want to say yes to something, you're like jumping from joy and you're like, yeah. But then as an adult, you just switch to toning down your expression so much that sometimes we just express it with words. Like, I don't know if I'm sure you have done it yourself, because I have, but we send the crying laughing emojis while having a poker face. But we're just messaging, and it's such a sterile expression of emotion instead of just being fully in it with your body, with your actions, with everything. And I think same goes for being authentic. I think as kids, especially younger kids, we're so loud and much more expressive. And yeah, like, there are shy kids, of course, but what I mean is, like, if you're upset, you're gonna cry, and if you're happy, you're gonna laugh, and you're not gonna be toning it down and faking it and being like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to upset my mom if she knows that I need my nappy changed, so maybe I'm not gonna cry that loud. Maybe I'll just do a little, I don't know. It doesn't happen, right? But as adults, it happens all the time, more than we sometimes notice. And in our decisions as well, so often we kind of lose track of what is our decision and what is decision of other people in our life, what is the decision of society and the norms. And it becomes increasingly harder to, like, carve out of there what is actually your own path, like your own decisions, what you want to do, what would be truest to yourself. And it takes intentional effort to find that again. And I think with every action that has felt very scary and risky and a bit unconventional, but very me, I have been so proud of myself every single time. This includes even smaller things, like going on a solo trip when I really want to, but I become like, if it's been a while since I've done a solo trip. And I absolutely adore solo trips because I'm very introverted. I could spend a week by myself, 2 weeks by myself, and be happy. But if it's been a while, I might get a bit nervous because I forgot, I lost a bit of that. I know I'll be fine. I know I'll be completely okay. I'll navigate the situation I'm in. I can communicate with people even if they don't speak the same language. Like, all of that stuff that I was like, once you've done a solo trip, you feel like, I'll be fine. I can handle it. And then as time goes on, you kind of forget a little bit. You lose that feeling. And then you start getting a bit more resistant, a bit more nervous. And I kind of had that a little bit before my last solo trip. And then I went and I was like, I'm so glad that I pushed myself to do it because, first of all, it makes me so happy. I really enjoy it. It's so fulfilling. And I rediscovered that confidence of going down the path that you want. I think it's so incredibly important that we don't lose sight of it, because if we do, then whose life are you living? Is it your own or is it not? And you know the answer yourself. So whatever you can do to protect your light that is guiding you, do that. And also, of course, sometimes I think there's so much value in listening to the people around you, but only if they're the right people to listen to. And there's been so much stuff that, I have maybe neglected from important people in my life. And then time goes on and I'm like, damn, they were right. And those things happen and you can make mistakes. Like, this could be a big mistake. I don't know if you even think that anything can be a mistake or if it's just experience. If at the time it was the right decision for you and you followed what was truly your own path, then I think there's so much value in that. However it turns out, this could turn out terribly. I'll report back in about half a year or in summertime. You'll see how this went. Maybe regardless of the outcome, a big part of the value is in staying true to your path and finding it, even if it's quite tough. So how the year's been going? I have been really loving it. I think I've made such a good decision in terms of where to go. I am so incredibly happy with being a student again is amazing. I think if you're a student and you're older, you just appreciate it so much more. Because if I was at LSE studying economics and politics with the brain and mindset and confidence and, self-expression that I have now, boy, would I have a better time. Genuinely, because I was very antisocial and I really enjoyed the academics, but I was very, very stressed as well because I really wanted to do well. And I think I could have taken so much more from it. I would have been way more active in university and maybe would have done some student rep role. And I did do some stuff, but I could have done even more. I could have connected with more people. I could have created more friendships. I could have been more proactive speaking in classes, and I think that would have made me learn even better. There's so much stuff I could have done. So at the moment, I'm really loving being incredibly active on my course, whether it's talking, expressing an opinion, being a student rep, being on the board of governors, doing everything I can to get the most out of it. So I've been loving being an older student in that sense. I also have been completely disconnected from my job. And this is the stuff that depends on your work. But in my case, I hand in my work laptop, I hand in my work phone. I genuinely have no way to be in touch with that world except for friends and connections that I have. I've not really been immersed in that world at all, except the friendships. And it's been very nice to just step back fully. Because I think at first I had the thought of, well, I think I should stay in touch. I think I should proactively maintain my network. I think I should, get catch-ups in with people, maybe through LinkedIn. And actually, first of all, I don't have the time to. But secondly, I don't think I want to. And taking this year for just something completely different has been amazing. So I've really enjoyed that. And then the next thing you've partially heard about, but there's a lot of pressure for me to figure out what I'm doing at the end of this career break, because ever since I started, I feel like the clock is ticking, and it's been ticking literally ever since I started. I have felt this pressure and anxiety about what happens at the end. And it's because I don't have complete control over what happens at the end, and I also don't have a clear path of what happens at the end. I just have some goals that I have some wishes that I have about what I want to happen, but it's one of those things where you have to trust the process and just see the path unfold while you're on it. And I'm very bad at that stuff. It's actually incredibly anxiety inducing for someone who's control freaky like me. I like having details. I like knowing what's happening. I like having certainty, and I'm very bad at dealing with uncertainty. And I think this is an experience of trusting the process a bit more. And that's why I was talking about self-belief. Self-belief is so essential when you don't have certainty, because what else do you have to cling on to, right? Except the belief that whatever happens, I'm going to be able to figure it out and I'm going to be fine. And I think I can achieve a lot in this year, whatever happens at the end. So trying to maintain that element of, if I spend the whole year thinking about the end of the year, then I won't be present for any of this year. I'll always be thinking about the future, and actually the whole thing will kind of go to waste, because what's the point if you're not present in the moment and giving yourself time to just ease into it, enjoy it, fully take on that you've you've chosen to take this whole year out of your work and you can spend it doing what you love. And yes, hustling, but like by your own choice. I have been really, really trying and sometimes failing, a lot of the time failing, but really wanting to try and stay present in what I'm doing right now and enjoy it more, regardless of what happens after. Because worrying about what happens after is not going to make better things happen. I think it's actually weirdly letting go of that is going to help things happen. So that's a very counterintuitive thing that I've seen work time and time again for other people, but for me, I really struggle to internalize it. And I think what I would love to get to is actually, yes, have a vision and have my wants, but then let go and just follow the journey, go with the flow a little bit. Go with the flow. Yeah. Go with the flow and trust that I will find a way. So that is my wish for myself, is to let go of the control and see what unfolds. Because maybe there will be things that happen in this year that I've not even anticipated, and they could be really freaking cool. That is my roundup of how it's going so far, and I do plan to keep you posted on how it's going every month or so, and you can see if my approach to it, if my mindset changes, and if I get more panicky as time goes along. But in the meantime, you can listen and watch the previous episode in here, and I'll see you in the next one.